Welcome back, everyone, to Legally Speaking with Rest the Case, your go to legal podcast where we decode the law for entrepreneurs, citizens, and change makers across India. Today, we're diving into a topic that touches millions of businesses across the country: the legal rights and compliance essential for MSMEs or micro, small, and medium enterprises. Whether you're a first generation entrepreneur running a small factory, a startup founder, or a growing service provider, understanding your legal rights could be the difference between growth and getting stuck in red tape. To guide us through this legal maze, we are joined by Advocate Gaurav Ghosh, a seasoned legal expert with deep experience advising MSMEs across sectors. Together, we'll break down the must know laws, common pitfalls, and powerful protections available for MSMEs in India. So, if you're an MSME owner, manager, or just curious about building a legally sound business, this one's for you. So, let's get started. First of all, welcome to today's podcast, Advocate Ghosh.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. To start off with, could you briefly explain why legal awareness is so crucial for MSMEs, especially in today's growing economy?
Legal awareness will help MSMEs protect their interests, avoid disputes, reduce costs related to disputes, as well as reduce costs in their day-to-day functioning uh, by ensuring if they stay compliant, then they'll be safe from government authorities,
Yeah.
as well as they can protect their interests regarding payments and other outgoings.
So there is a term called as the Udyam registration. What is it and why is it important for businesses to complete it?
So Udyam registration is registration for MSMEs, and it is especially important for micro and small enterprises
Hmm.
because when you have a Udyam registration, it helps you in your dispute resolution process. It helps you secure some kind of loans, collateral-free loans, which are provided by MSME authorities. And apart from that, it also helps you get certain tax exemptions and relaxations as far as labor and employee laws are concerned.
Okay. And are there any misconceptions or myths surrounding this registration? Uh, any pitfalls or any challenges that MSMEs might face?
Well, it might seem tedious and it might seem to come across if somebody is particularly inexperienced with form filling or something on using the internet, then it might seem like a challenge, but it really isn't. It's quite simple. The process is simple. You have to upload very minimum documents, and it's not just for manufacturers, it's for any kind of enterprise. As long as they qualify as a micro, small, or medium enterprise, it's for any kind of enterprise, whether they are a manufacturer or service provider, whatever it is.
Right. So moving on to, one of the most common complaints that we hear from MSMEs is about delayed payments. Is there any way in which they can legally protect themselves from this?
Yes, first and foremost, you need to have minimum amount of documentation. Even if you are a small business, you need to have a minimum amount of documentation in the sense you may or may not have a written contract with every person you deal with, but it is advisable to do so. Apart from that, what you really need to have are you need to have pay orders, bills, receipts, and instructions regarding delivery, proof of delivery. If
Right.
you have this kind of minimum documentation, then under the MSME Act and once you have your Udyam registration, you can use the Samadhaan portal, and they have a internal dispute resolution mechanism where
Okay.
first they will send a notice on your behalf after you file a complaint with these documents, and after that they'll refer you to the MSME Samadhaan dispute resolution process, which involves a dispute resolution center whose
Okay.
orders are binding.
Okay. So you just mentioned the Samadhan portal. What can you walk us through what it is and how effective is it for MSMEs to use that portal?
It is more effective than going to civil court, filing a civil suit or a commercial suit. It is, in a way, it is also more effective than arbitration
Okay.
because here you're approaching a government, a quasi-government authority, and that authority is acting on your behalf to resolve the dispute. If you have these bills and pay orders and you haven't been paid in 45 days, then you can apply, and the process is relatively faster.
Hmm. Okay, got it. So
And it is also free of charge, mind you. It is free
right,
of charge. You don't have to pay anything. If you
yeah.
want, you can engage a lawyer. But if you are, if you're confident you can deal with it and you have the documentation, then you
Hmm.
can very well do it yourself.
Right. And many like small businesses also struggle with, say, labor law compliance. What are the basics that they cannot ignore, or they should definitely make sure that they have?
You have to be compliant with most labor laws. You have to pay minimum wages. If you have a certain number of employees, you also have to arrange for PF and
Yeah.
ESIC. You have to have working hours. You have to have maternity leave,
Yeah.
and you need to issue appointment letters. Apart
Okay.
from that, you have certain relaxations under if you're registered as an MSME,
Hmm.
but this kind of minimum compliance will be required.
Yeah, yeah. So there are some benefits under the labor laws also that MSMEs enjoy.
Yes, they do.
Okay, okay,
They do. They
cool.
do. They do. They do not have to strictly file everything required, but
Right.
these minimum safeguards which are there for employees and for laborers,
That is.
that you have to follow. Yeah.
Got it, got it. So, do you think that MSMEs often tend to overlook the importance of contracts or legal documentation? Um, do you think that they often tend not to do these in the beginning?
Yes, it happens several times that MSMEs. It's a well, these small industries always existed. It's only now that they have been regularized and they have been made compliant with laws such as
Yeah.
labor laws, tax laws, other laws,
Hmm.
and they have been given recognition and protection under the Act, such as the Udyam registration, Samadhaan portal we just discussed. But they do tend to avoid documentation. They
Hmm.
will not have contracts for sometimes small deals, sometimes even for large deals. They will not have contracts, and when a dispute arises, the first feedback is that it was all based on trust and faith, and we have been doing this business for quite
Yeah.
some time now. But it is always useful to have things written down. It is always useful to have a contract.
Yeah. And do you think having, a simple contract or like say an arbitration clause in their agreements or contracts can help them actually save on costs associated with legal issues?
Yes, yes, of course, certainly. Because if you have a dispute resolution clause, which may include mediation, which may include arbitration, or which may, the clause itself might state that for any payment related dispute, the MSME will first oppose the Samadhaan voting. So if you have this kind of a dispute resolution clause, it helps you avoid other loopholes. It helps you sort of stay out of the legal quagmire which you will otherwise be pulled into
Right.
in case there's a dispute. And disputes happen very frequently because this is all commercial and it's about supply and payments. And so small, large disputes are very common.
Right. And how can these small businesses make sure that they stay compliant with annual filings or audit requirements? Is there anything they specifically need to know?
See, because you are a micro, small, or medium enterprise, it is not really expected that you will have in-house legal and in-house tax.
Yeah.
But yes, there are professionals who will lend their services to you, and you have to be careful. You have to be compliant. You have to do your due diligence and filings every year, just like any individual is required to maintain their documents and file tax returns. The MSME will also have to stay compliant like that.
Yeah. And are there any mistakes that the MSMEs could make that could, say, disqualify them from certain benefits or schemes?
You should keep your Udyam registration status updated. If you
Okay.
are doing, suppose if you, to qualify as a micro enterprise, you
Hmm.
need to have investment and investment or equipment less than 1 crore and a turnover of less than 5 crores. And
Right.
then to become medium, it will be investment or equipment less than 10 crores. So you have to keep yourself updated on the portal so
Hmm.
that later on you will not be shown your own papers which you have filed in, say, tax or GST or with some other authorities and be asked that why haven't you done this? That could probably lead to disqualification, but there are also resolution processes for that.
Right, right. And Could you be able to share with us, say, a real life example of how an MSME has benefited from proper legal compliance or early legal intervention?
If you're within time, if you take legal action when you're required to take it, like I was just mentioning in case of unpaid bills, if 45 days have passed and you haven't given it a lot of time after that,
Yeah.
and you say on the 60th day you file through the Samadhaan portal, then you're likely to receive that payment within with the dispute resolution process within another 90 days,
Hmm.
another four months or 5 months. Whereas on the other hand, if you don't do these things, and even if you have something else with you, such as if you have been given a check in lieu of this payment, but the payment has not been made, and the check gets bounced after that,
Hmm.
this 138 process might take years. So it is
Right.
always better to have the minimum documentation and be registered with the Udyam portal and try their dispute resolution process first.
Right. And when it comes to an MSME, what is the right time that a founder or someone who's starting this kind of an organization consult a lawyer? What would you say is the right time to do that for them?
Well, any time is the right time.
Yeah.
It can be at the very beginning, or it can be when a dispute actually arises.
Hmm.
But I would say you have to stay on top of things
Right.
and stay legal and secure your rights and interests. So it is always smarter to consult a lawyer right at the inception of the business, and
Um,
then whenever required at appropriate stages.
Correct. And if an MSME, say, already established MSME wants to, take a step towards legal compliance, where should they begin? What is the first step that they should be doing in this process?
If it is an MSME that is not registered with the portal, I would say
Yeah.
the first thing would be to get your papers together and register,
Yeah.
and then take things forward. Sometimes you might be an MSME, you might be compliant with tax laws and other laws, but you might not be on the Udyam portal registered as an MSME. Well, then I would say you're missing out on a lot of benefits. It is
Got it.
always a good idea to register first.
Got it. And as we come to the end of this discussion, are there any closing thoughts for small business owners, trying to scale, or how do they stay legally protected?
Stay compliant, get competent professional help when required, and stay on top of things, have your paperwork organized.
Yeah.
Be a smart business.
Right. And I think that brings us to the end of today's episode on, legal lifeline for MSMEs. We hope this conversation helped clarify some of the legal complexities surrounding MSMEs and showed that compliance doesn't have to be intimidating when you've got the right knowledge and resources. As our guests shared, things like Udyam registration, contact enforcement, timely filings, and legal due diligence can go a long way in protecting your business and unlocking benefits. So remember that little legal awareness today can save your business from big legal trouble tomorrow. So don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and share this episode with your network. Thank you so much, Advocate Ghosh, for joining us and answering our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until
It
next
was a
time,
pleasure.
stay informed and stay protected. Thank you so much.